You know what the difference between conspiracy theory and the truth is?
Just a couple months.
Exactly, right? And when Victoria Nuland went to Congress and said, no, there's no such thing as research facilities or biolabs. And then she had to come back like, listen, 2 weeks later. Well, there actually are research facilities, and they're just that. They're just research facilities, except when the Russians get them. Then they become bioweapons labs. So all of a sudden, hoop-de-doo. And listen, one of the big reasons, very shortly after the military actions by the Russians, the Russian Federation, they went and bombed those labs. They bombed them back to the Stone Age. They said no more. That, I think, was another big reason on why Putin said enough is enough. Not so much just Putin, but the Russian Federation. And we just learned recently that there were a bunch of CIA bases over there. That situation was unprovoked, was so provoked. Anybody who says it's unprovoked is just ridiculous. It's like they had no choice, but that's a different story. We'll get into that later. Let's get into the whole kind of conspiracy theory truth thing, since we're talking about biolab. There was a conspiracy theory out there, Shelby. I don't know if you heard about this, that, it's just bullshit, that they're deplatforming people, or they're making independent media people go away. Like, your numbers are low because your numbers are low. You might have 5,000 views on one video and the other one has 50, but that's just because it's you. You know what I'm saying? They're putting it on the emphasis on us. Meanwhile, we have no open source system to see what these tech lords are doing. YouTube, the CEO, Susan Wojcicki, at one point, I think she's moved on to somebody else. She's passed the baton. But Susan Wojcicki was a big donator to the Hillary Clinton campaign, and she was a loyal soldier. So now we have this conspiracy theory out there, confirmed the truth. Check out this video. It's a long video. We're just going to play the first couple minutes and give me your opinion about what's going on, because really, to tell you the truth, this is a sin. And a lot of people will say, Shelby, that YouTube, it's a private company. No, it's not. Very few things to recognize about that. And if you want, before we put the video, actually, you give me your opinion on when people say YouTube is a private company, because I mentioned right away, if there are public easements. In other words, they enter in contracts with United States taxpayers that if they're going to use our land, they're going to use the satellites, everything that we pay for collectively, then they have to abide by our laws. Freedom of speech is one. Also, Section 230 of the NDA says specifically that they are shielded from any litigation whatsoever. They cannot be sued as long as they promise to act as a platform and not a publisher, which means even keel across the board. They're not allowed to pick winners and losers, but they surely have been doing so. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you've been in this whole realm of like, she's a conspiracy theorist. Shelby Hosana's off the wall with her. And listen, the Maui on Fire, the Lahaina on Fire, Volume 2 should be done with less than about 10 days. I talked to George the other day. We've got to cut down. And there's a lot of stuff from you over there, and you kind of lay out a lot of things, and people are going to go, psh, conspiracy theorists. What are your thoughts when you hear people say that YouTube is or Twitter are private companies?
Actually, I have a lot to say about this because of my experience that I had with Unjected. And when Unjected was actually originally an app on Apple Store and Google Play Store, I had the exact same issue arise where Google and Apple said, well, we are a private entity and we do not have to allow you as a developer the freedom of speech and freedom of design, or whatever you want to call it, within your app as long as you exist on our platform. And that is exactly what they did to Unjected. They would tell me to censor and delete information that they deemed harmful, deceptive, or whatever it may be, just based on their own basically orders by the federal government. Let's be real. The tech companies, YouTube, Apple, Google, they're all just working in collaboration together. They're just an extended arm of the U.S. government, and they're obeying orders. So, are they a private company? Maybe they tried to start that way, but are they acting that way now? Not at all.
Yeah. And it's obvious they get summoned. That is the CEOs of these companies to Congress, and they do what the Congress tells them to do. And our Congress, like many other Congresses, many other states, are being very, oppressive right now with your speech. They're censorship crazy. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Brazil and kind of lead into our guest for the day, Don DeBar, who can be a co-host. Jamie, if you could check your spelling on the word agent before you put that banner back up there, I do appreciate it. People already bag on me for not being able to spell right, but agent's only spelled with one A. Thank you.
So I do that all the time. It's okay.
I do too. Jamie's on a roll right now, though, so I'm really busting his cheese slice. Jamie, there you go. A CIA officer and former FBI agent boast about entrapping Americans. And this is what they did to me. This is what they did to the Combo Couch almost 4 years ago. In one fail, whoosh, press of the button, right? One big press of the button. We woke up and we got an email, and it was like 6 of us. Nico House, Graham Elwood, Frank Analysis, myself. I can't remember the other 2 groups. The other 2 channels were giving back their monetization right away, but they demonetized us. They said, we're not taking down your channel, but we're demonetizing you. So they took away, pretty much like 75% of our income. We had to scramble. Thank God we had Rockfin. For those on Rockfin who remember, I appreciate you guys sticking by us over there. But we were never able to really recuperate fully because the biggest platform out there in the public square is YouTube. So what they do, the first thing they do, and this is something that Luke Radowski has talked about. I'm going to be here on the show on April 16th coming on up, unless he cancels me, but hopefully he won't. That, when a lot of people get demonetized or get their channel taken down, Shelby, they don't come back.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those strikes where it hurts, it's kind of got like a thorn in the side, especially for some people who have created large followings, lots of big, people in their audience that have looked to them for information, and then deplatforming them, just hitting them at the knees and getting them there. Thankfully, YouTube deleted me on my first episode, so I didn't even have to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been on Rumble, right? Mostly Rumble and Rockfin, I think, too, as well. But I mean, but here's the thing that really, listen, I tip my hat to you guys just picking up the pieces and going with it. But, that's not right. And people should understand that. And for those are the people who are just, they're happy with people getting censored right now because their guys are in office. When it switches, it will swing back the other way. You have to be a free speech absolutist across the board no matter what. You have to protect speech you don't like just as much as speech you do like, because if you don't do that, then we're all in trouble. And once they take away our voice, ladies and gentlemen, we are gone for good. Let's play this video, guys. Remember all the ways you can help and share are listed down below. We do have a Patreon. I got a lot of cooking videos going up. Shelby, I made some baked Z with some sausage in it, and I also made some chicken parmesan with a panko crust, and a ricotta lemon cheesecake to die for. I wish you could taste it, but if you want to see that video, guys, go to our Patreon. We'll have it up soon for the fettuccine Alfredo level for just $5 a month. Get these extra cooking videos. But if you only can have $2 to spare a month, you can be a macaroni and cheese follower. But if you want to go for the big guns, the $10 lasagna bolognese level will get you 2 live streams per month. We're looking for you to join and help on out. We also have a locals. We have a give, send, go. Any way you can help out independent media, it would be great, guys. I really appreciate it. And if you don't have a dime to spare, maybe you got some time to share. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and get it out there. I'm here with Shelby Hosana. This is Pasta to Go. Back with the camera. Take a listen to this ex-CIA agent. I think he still works for the feds, or he's a contractor, but listen to what he says.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How? Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
Yeah, we get really close. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just got to give them a quick little, just to see what happens. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting on a fake social media thing to like really get people mad.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
We did what we wanted.
Which was what?
Took his money away. Chopped his legs off.
Gavin O'Blennis is a contracting
Pause right
officer
there.
at the CIA.
So really quickly, bring us back in full screen. And it pretty much the next part of the video just explains, Shelby, that he is an actual CIA agent. He actually worked for the FBI doing some contracting, but they call it a nudge. We're going to nudge them, meaning I don't know what that means. But I mean, is this not a crime? This is everything against the United States, way of living was free. You can say what you want to say in this country, but now they don't do that. And he goes, what did they do to Alex Jones? We took away his money. They did that to me. They've done that to other people. They've done that to a lot of conservatives, a lot of people who talked about the issues you talk about on an Unjected. Your thoughts on after hearing that right now? I guess it's not a conspiracy theory.
No, not a conspiracy at all. And, it almost is in a lot of a way, a coercion for you to obey. We're going to, keep poking at you in this avenue or that way, or even your livelihood, just like we saw with the vaccine rollout and mandating it for jobs. That was your livelihood, and people need to survive. So at some point in their minds, they think, well, if we can just keep attacking them to where their everyday is hard to maintain, because it's hard to fight for freedom. Fighting for freedom, you don't get paid for that. And so, when people have these channels to monetize or to get support, it's literally to keep fighting and to keep the mission going that all of us are serving. And so, of course, it's in their grand design, make it more difficult for them, and they won't have as much tenacity to keep fighting. It's just kind of a long con.
Yeah, and it really is hard, because the whole thing is that they don't want you to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And you have a family to take care of, and I have responsibilities and bills. Jamie's got things going on. If we can't make money doing this, we have to go do something else.
Yep.
And if we're doing something else, we're part of the hamster in the wheel. If we're part of the zombies looking for just walking around in society doing whatever they're telling us to do, stuck at some 9-to-5 job or in some restaurant, then we're not truth telling. We're not doing the citizen journalism, which I believe that, I don't think our forefathers ever saw this. And I don't want to kind of quote the forefathers, because they were doing their own thing in their own little clique. But I think this is what has always intended to be, that a citizen journalist can be one of the most powerful tools out there. All you need nowadays, this is something that George Webb talks about. You need your camera, you need to go outside, you need to film something, you need to talk to somebody, and you can actually get the truth. And I think it's uber important today, now that we have mainstream media, which is nothing more than propaganda, to make sure that our voices are heard. What do you think is going to continue to happen, Shelby, as we close out this section? Do you think anybody's going to stop this? Because it seems like we have no friends in Washington, and it seems to continue to get worse.
It's kind of it's a funny paradox that you mentioned earlier. They're not going to care until it affects them, and it's true. At what point do we all say, we've had enough, and that everybody should be allowed to say what they want? And freedom of speech is unparalleled. That I believe that is the most important thing, besides well, I won't say the most, but it is extremely important. And when you are sharing the information that they don't want you to know, you're going against the narrative. You're building a new narrative that maybe is something that is going to help awaken the others. So I just know that if this is happening to you, you're on target. The censorship means that you are doing a disservice to the NWO, and that is a great thing. So just stand in that conviction and keep fighting, and say no to censorship.
I agree. Well spoken. Way to end the section, guys. Remember the ways to help out the show. CIA and former FBI agent boast about entrapping Americans, boast about cutting off their knees, taking away their finances. That's what they're doing to all of us. YouTube is part of the whole situation. Even though we're over here trying to make a few bucks, we're trying to do this full time so we can go out there and report to you what's really going on, because you can't depend on the mainstream media. It's nothing more than a propaganda piece for the oligarchs that are running the show.